Okay, it worked. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson. Welcome to another session, session 5 with Bobbi. Looking forward to having her come on board and talk with us. But first, I want to go over a few announcements. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson. Welcome to another session, session 5. Turn this one off. Forgive me. Sorry about that. That's my replay in the background, everyone. Still working things out here. We have to talk about a few things here. And first is our disclaimer. We're not mental health providers. As I always say, we're not here to cure anyone. But we do walk people through a comprehensive series of protocols and techniques to help them deal with the abuse in their lives, from narcissism to child sexual, PTSD, and many other abuses, financial and other. We walk them through and we look for opportunities to help them. And instead of in a traditional way of providing therapy, we actually teach people how to operate and also teach people how to treat them. We'll talk more about that as time ensues and as we continue our interview process. Right now, I have Bobbi on. I'm going to ask her to come on. Hi, Bobbi. How are you today?
I'm good.
I'm glad. I heard earlier that you were kind of under the weather. What's going on? Are you okay?
Just a little bit, just a little coughing going on, but I got some halls right here, so we're good. And got some tea. So
Well, that's a good remedy, I guess. Sometimes those natural supplements you take, they could be a little bit better for you. We'll talk about that at another time. How was your day?
busy, very busy.
Tell me about
Walmart is not my friend. I did a lot of ordering online last minute, last minute gifts. And it came up fraudulent on my account that I've had for years. Same, everything was the same, nothing different. And they'd say, wait 5 hours and try it again. So I waited 5 hours and tried to get this has been going on 2 days. And so then I waited all night, tried again this morning. And so it's just been ongoing. Finally, we just went and bought a gift card and I came back and just ordered it with a gift card because I am not standing in those lines. They are wrapped around the deli. I'm not doing it.
something was fraudulent, your credit card or something like that?
Well, it was coming up fraudulent. Like I think it was because when my last name changed.
Aha.
So after when I got married, it took a minute for my social security card to catch up with my identification. So it was pinging me as a FACO. So
So I'm always interested in something.
yeah.
When you decided to hang out with your dad early on, that
Mhm.
was your decision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to dive in today. I want
Yeah.
you to understand that your dad played a significant role in your life. He really did. He made it clear that you would go his path. Can you describe his path for me? What about your dad? Not to speak too ill of the dead, but what about your dad that you identify with his path? What does that look like?
Uh, well, his path was in his addiction at a very early age. He had killed he was held responsible for killing his best friend in a car wreck, drinking and driving at a
How old was he?
I
How old
think he
was
was
he?
17 at the time. And so July, I can remember always being a bad month for him. And he was the youngest of four. So he was like the black sheep, went against the grain. He was the one that didn't go into the military. He didn't do what the family said, didn't take care of the dog the right way, didn't, nothing ever measured up to him, just like I never measured up for him. And then I kind of assumed the mother role from my grandmother and taking care of him as he was an adult, but he in his addiction, like she would tell me, I can remember her telling me when I was maybe 8 or 9, like, let's go over and see your dad. He might not you might not see him tomorrow. And I didn't know what that meant, you know, but he was, like I said, he was in his addiction. Him and my mom, I was born in 74. They divorced in 78. So I was 4. And then I went to live with my grandparents in Cleveland. And
How mean was your dad to everyone else around? Give me the measure. Who was his good people? Who was his bad people? Who was his indifferent people? Tell me, how did he operate with any group of folk? Can you explain that dynamic to me?
he was, I mean, he was pretty much the boss of whatever group of people that he was in. He was a leader, just in the wrong ways, looking back. Um, I mean, him and his brother, I think, were they were close in age. Um, had a lot of sibling rivalry stuff. And my uncle went the right way and my dad went the wrong way. But
When you
he
say the
was
right view, how did that look? The uncle.
uh
What was his first name, if you don't mind me asking?
my dad,
No, your uncle. What was his first name?
William.
William. So
William,
William went the right way and your dad went the wrong way. Okay.
yes. He graduated high school. My dad had to get shipped out to California because they couldn't guarantee his safety. He created a big riot at the high school he went to. And the principal told my grandparents, like, we got to send him somewhere else because it's getting bad. This was back, I mean, he was born in 56, so in the 70s.
Got it.
Um, my uncle started working, went into the service, stayed into the Marines. I'm sure he's still into the reserves. If he's not, worked at the post office, retired from there, like never jumped jobs. That's what my grandfather did. That's what his brother Buck did. That's what his sister Louise did. Um, he did just the opposite.
Did he have children, William?
Yeah, he has one with somebody he didn't marry, and then he met my Aunt Teresa and had her tubes untied so that she could have 2 boys for him, which their names was Billy and Bobby. And then my boys was named William and Robert. So
Wow. Tell me something. Did you play with them or grow up with these kids of his? Did you
I
have
was never allowed to play with them.
Okay, you say that very pointedly. Tell me, what does not being allowed to play with
Well,
mean?
so my grandmother and grandfather had a house, and my dad lived next door, and then my uncle lived kind of back on the street behind us. And uh, his wife Teresa had a daughter named Robin who was more my age, and I can remember them. My uncle Bill would call and ask if I was there, or if before he would even come up the back alley or the back pathway to come to grandma's.
How do you
And
think
if
that
I
was?
was, I don't know.
Were-
I didn't know at the time. I was
But
little.
you weren't with your dad's influence yet, correct?
Right.
But you were being ostracized from your cousins.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can remember conversations where they don't I mean, I'm assuming that they didn't think I understood, but like I knew like what when they would spell scissors, or because I had cut a hole in my nightgown, and
Mhm.
and they spelled it like, she cut with scissors, and I said, I know what that spells. And so they would try to spell
Speaking
things
in
out.
code.
Yeah, I broke the code because what I come to understand is that my dad's brothers and sisters didn't want my grandparents raising me.
So it was a bad influence, in other words.
Yeah. I mean, they felt like he should take responsibility and get his life together and raise his daughter.
And so they didn't allow their children to hang out with you, and you were somehow penalized for what your lack of your father did. Did that make you feel jealous or bad, or how did you
I
feel about?
just I just played by myself. I had a couple of childhood friends that had big families, and I would always go there. Like I said, nobody was ever allowed at our house because you never knew what he was going to come in and yell, rant, rave, what was going to happen. So I just felt alone all the time.
And
I
your
can,
cousins to this day, do you have anything to do with them now?
no. When I went to prison in 98, got out in 2001, lost my grandma in September 14th of 98. I lost my grandmother. September 20th, I went to prison. I lost my dad December 9th of 2000 and got out November 8th of 2001. So when I went in, I lost both of them. And when I came out, even to get pictures of my dad's ashes, my Uncle Bill, he did give me my dad's ashes. But my Aunt Louise, she was like, "You crossed the color line a whole long time ago. You can't even have any pictures." And I can remember my grandma having stacks and stacks of albums on these bookshelves that my dad made in like middle school.
So she's a racist.
Well, she didn't believe in mixing races. I don't know if they believed they were superior. I never got that vibe, but I just got the vibe you don't mix races.
But you do know how racism became a thing before Emancipation Proclamation and prior to slavery being such an endemic policy, if you will, and laws created around it back in the 1700s. Before all of that, uh, blacks were known as just not people of color, but brown people, and they were known as dark people. There was no such thing as racism, so to speak. People had their preferences, of course, or they had certain levels of xenophobia where they didn't want people of color mingling and intermixing, but there was not this thing of discrimination and racism. It was only through and after the Emancipation Proclamation. Remember, you ever heard the term 40 acres and a mule? You ever
Somewhere
hear
along the line.
40 acres and a mule? Well, that's what every slave who was freed was supposed to get. Really, the mule was just put in there later as an added addition, because when they give you 40 acres, how are you going to till it? You need a mule to do it. So that was something that they're working on, but it wasn't really a part of the deal. And South Carolina, the shorelines of South Carolina, was actually earmarked for the free slaves to take up 40 acres and all up and down the shoreline, on the shore, inland, and further until they were actually uh, brought into that community and had it built out through South Carolina and parts of North Carolina, and then further south on into Florida and so forth, Georgia, Florida. And what happened when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, the very first thing the new president did when he came in is he abolished not the 14th Amendment or anything to do with freeing the slaves, but the actual transference of wealth, the transference of land. And during this process, the only people, just as a historical note I'm making, so when we're talking, we'll speak from reference.
Yeah.
The only people who actually benefited from the Emancipation Proclamation, as well as the providing of land. All of the slaves who were given their 40 acres were then kicked off of that land, or they were reverted back to the original owners, and they were considered sharecroppers. And sharecropping was a whole nother beast. It was a scam, a huge scam, where the slaves were now kicked off the land. They never got the mule. They never got any transference of wealth. They never got anything. But the slave owners who lost slaves, this is a matter of history, you can look it up. The slave owners who lost slaves, they were actually compensated like $200-300 per slave, or whatever that value of the lifetime of that slave would be. The US government paid each slave owner for the loss of the slave, but the slave never got any part of any of that. And then on from there, racism came to be because they figured that they were getting free labor for a couple hundred years, and there was generational wealth being created by blacks, the slaves, and they had field hands and house people. They called them something else. I won't use it on this station, but they had the field people and the house people, and they would divvy up opportunities. And most of the people who knew how to work in the field were kind of managed by the people who worked in the house, and that didn't really work out. And that further divided the Black community, psychologically speaking and culturally speaking. And then I'm sure your husband knows what I'm saying right now, but what actually happened is they decided that there was not enough skilled workers. So, and a lot of poor white people who were being treated like trash back in those days as well, not just Black people. There were a lot of indigent white people and other races that weren't doing well. So the elite, the rich, came up with the idea that, we need to create a system where we can kind of make people feel like they're better so they'll aspire to do more, and we can denigrate another group or hurt another group. So between the slaves, they made the slave the low class, they made the Chinese next, then they made everybody who was white, English, Irish, Italian, French, all the white people. And these people were not racist at the time. Some of them didn't like Blacks because of the South and they thought them were slaves, but it wasn't a racist thing. It was just, okay, you're a man and I'm a man. You're a woman and I'm a woman, and that kind of thing. And then what actually happened is the elite came up with the idea that we need to be able to discriminate. And the easiest way to discriminate is taking a look. What's the easiest thing to do? I can turn to a Black person and say, he's Black, and I don't like him. And that's all the thought I have to give it, nothing else. And it became a us against them kind of thing. And that caused racial discrimination. And then they started creating laws around it, Jim Crow law, where, you were 3/5 of a person. Of course, that was written into the 14th, 15th, 13th Amendments, about 3/5 of a person. Then they modified that later and changed it at the 14th Amendment. But it actually, as Blacks being a 3/5 of a person, you couldn't ride in the front seat with a white person, or you couldn't be in the back. You had to be the driver or in the trunk. You couldn't drive on the roads at night. It was a permanent curfew all over the South, especially, but not necessarily in the North. There was money being made on escaped slaves prior to that, so people created cottage businesses around that, and that's how discrimination came. That's how people began to think they're better than one another. That's why the pink of a person's skin, they believe that it's better, and it was nothing but an economic ploy that was used by the rich in order to get the white people to say us against them. So we're better. So we get this and we get that, and we'll build the town and we'll build the roads and we'll do this and we'll do that. And it spirited the growth of America. But the money that had been made prior, and I'm giving you this information because you've done nothing wrong. Historically speaking, it wasn't supposed to be this way, not even slavery, but it is. And the outcome is treated a lot of people like you drive by a ghetto and you wonder why it's a ghetto. When they were transferring wealth from America, the government, to America back after World War II, you ever heard of redlining? When you go to a real estate, you go buy a house and they redline the district and they say, we won't loan to this district, but we'll loan to this district because it's more affluent. It has more money. It has more jobs and more community. So redlining was a product of the US government. They said, we will, and this is exactly what they did on the maps, we will lend money for people to get this new land all over the country to these areas of people who live in these red line zones here and here, Harlem, Georgia, Atlanta, and all these different places that were predominantly Black were redlined by the US government as a part of the law. So they could not participate and get bank loans. They could not get any assistance. They could not get any credit. And if they did get it, it would be 5 times, 10 times, 15 times the rate of a white person outside of the red zone or the red line. That's where the term redlining comes from. Until this day, you indoctrinate a person with real estate and money opportunities and jobs and education and food and access to health care and all of that as a part of a norm, the normal. And then you do exactly, because back in the same times, Blacks weren't doing very well at all, but they were doing well enough. They had their own businesses, their insurance companies, their own banks, their own savings and loans, their own supermarkets, their own drugstores. They had everything in the Black neighborhoods that the white neighborhoods have, and they were thriving.
Yeah.
And you know about the Tulsa riots. We'll talk about that another time. But they were thriving. And then along came Dr. Martin Luther King, great orator, great human being, fantastic holiday, the whole 9 yards. My family's been involved in that since that part of the era. But then what happened is desegregation did exactly what it said it would do. And this is probably where your aunt and uncles and other members of your family found themselves at a place where they had to discriminate. Most people don't understand why they discriminate or why they hate Black people or why they feel poorly about a certain other race. They just do, because historically speaking, they've been conditioned to understand that these are the parameters in which it operates. I don't forgive them, but I don't forget them either. You just have to be wary that these people exist, and they will kill you over your race, especially in the United States. So you were the victim in this particular case, in that long little history lesson, and I loosely fitted into this conversation for a reason, because you have been hurt. You have been penalized all of your life for your desires, for something that makes you feel good. I don't know why when I look at a certain kind of woman that I like that woman. And I can look at someone just as pretty, but another kind of person and not like them at all.
Yeah.
You and all of us are the same way. At least those of us who take each other seriously. We're the same way. You should not be penalized for that. My children are mixed. And you know, my ex looks white, but she's Hispanic, but she's a white Hispanic. So my kids are like my color, lighter than me, and this whole look, the hair and all that, and gorgeous kids like yours. I saw your children now, they're amazing children. I understand what you're going through. I really do. And what you've gone through. Now, let me ask you a question. With all that being said, where do you fit? Do you feel in any way, and I need to ask you this question because we're on this topic, have you ever felt like you were better than anyone else?
No, I've actually felt a lot less than. And I can remember when I got out of prison, like my grandmother was my rock. Even though they didn't believe in mixing races and they would just exhaust themselves chasing me down and hunting for me and
Stopping you from doing what you want to do.
yeah, even though all of that, I knew that my grandmother loved me unconditional.
All of
And
that. Before we get to the unconditional grandma love, I got it on a note right here. Before we get there, let me ask you, what does all of that mean? When you said, and even though, you know, the racial thing and all of that, see, your grandmother supported you as a person, but she didn't support your choices. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Because you say all of that, I want to put that somewhere specific so I can come back to it.
Yeah. I knew when I could get in her bed and I just felt safe. I felt she would comfort me, wouldn't matter, what I was going through. Like I knew my grandmother loved me.
So when you're under the covers with your grandma and your feet touch and you rub yours against her leg and rubs it back, you knew you were at home. You knew that she was someone who protects you.
Yeah.
Then what would normally happen to take you out of that protective place?
Well, up and until I went to prison, when she passed away in 98, she got Alzheimer's. It started, she was born in 1920, and I don't even know, she passed away in 98. So I believe I was around 23 or 24. And I was in school.
78, 79.
Huh?
She died at 78 or 79. Right? And she was born in 20. And
She was born in 20 and she died in 1998. Okay. I think she was, I don't know how old she was. But I took care of my grandma. Okay. And it wasn't until I couldn't do it any longer. Like I had got married with my first marriage. Mm-hmm. Very bad decision. That's a whole nother chapter. I met him as a pen pal and off to the races. Um, but I was in school, taking care of my kids, and still had this whole like double life going on at my dad's. So I took care of her, and I feel like what I understand to be my God took me out of that and put me in someplace safe for a while, because like I always knew I could go to my grandma. I don't care if I was hungry, if I'd have no money, if I didn't have nothing, I could go to her and she would protect me. Um, and then I lost her and my dad
Same time you were in prison.
same time I was in prison.
So ask yourself this question, or maybe you have, and I don't know how you answer yourself, but were you alarmed when you saw that everyone around you was taking a piece of you in some way or another, with the exception of your grandmother? Everyone you've mentioned to me has taken something from you every time, whether it's your cousins you couldn't see, your uncles and aunts that didn't want you to be with Black people, your father who wanted you to just take raps for him, your cousins who wouldn't have anything to do with you, your friends who knew that you were headed with your dad and probably ostracized you as well. Every single body, and then you entered into a couple of relationships that just panned out to be nothing but terror. Why do you think you made so many bad decisions? And they were your decisions, Bob. Why do you
Yeah,
think you made so many?
guess that's all I knew.
I guess that's a good answer. But there's a thing called a decision-making process. And there's a term from Eastern cultures. It's called spontaneous right action. Spontaneous right action. And spontaneous right action pretty much means that you make decisions and you keep making decisions and you keep making decisions. And the theory is, and the philosophy behind it is, the more decisions that you make, the better you get at it. Even though you fail, you made intermittent decisions. They were a decision to do this wrong, or decision to pick that wrong person, or decision not to be there, or decision to be there. Those micro decisions in all those paths that you missed is where you lost control of the ability to be able to start making better decisions. The more decisions that you make, the better you get at it. Within the conceptual framework of the decision-making process, you have to look at every single micro or macro decision you make. And the more you do that, the better you get at it. Like riding a bike. The more you turn those pedals and steer, the better you get at it. That's how decisions work. So we're going to practice that over our sessions and, of course, in your home life. And we're going to see how that works out for you. But we need to start making decisions. And if you go to the mirror and decide you're going to put some toothpaste on your brush, decide that. Decide that I'm going to put the toothpaste. Decide I'm going to go on my left side up and down straight. Then I'm going to go this way. I'll make a decision. I'll put my tongue out and brush it. Decide every single little thing you do from now on, until those smaller decisions kind of morph into a major or a larger decision. You don't have to make those small decisions because you're conditioning yourself to make the right kinds of decisions to get to the next point. But you can't be
Makes
quick
sense.
to do it. It's called the conceptual framework of the decision-making process, dealing with it stems from the Bhagavad Gita and a few other places. The Stoics as well believed in this. But the bottom line is, if you make all your decisions are big, you miss all the space in between. And that's a lot to miss.
Or what about when you don't want to make a decision?
That's right.
That's
But
even worse. Like, well, I don't,
that's
it
why
doesn't.
you don't, but that's why you don't want to make the decision, at least in my life. Remember, my whole idea is to get you to your norm therapy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But in my life, I have found something so true since I was a younger man, much younger, that there's a lot more wisdom in what you don't know than in what you do know. Because when you know something, like right now, you said you went to the store today, you dealt with that fraud thing, you dealt with this, you dealt with that, you knew what was going on. Boom, boom, boom. You went straight dot, 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 dot. Right down the line, you got in there. Then you finally just remedied it another way. You went and you said, let me just get a gift card and go get it. Okay? That
Yeah.
was some finite, clear, just cut decision making. So you put on your blinders, you pointed yourself in that direction, you went straight there. Now, sometimes if we put those blinders on and we get stuff done, that's good, like you did today. But most of the time, including today, most of the time, you should look at everything in the unknown. There's more within in the unknown than there is in the known. And I'll explain it to you. When you put on those blinders and you know something, you go straight forward and that's it. You get it done and you move on. When you don't know something, everything is a possibility. You can start looking over here. Maybe all you needed to do was call whatever agency that was putting a hold on it that's on the back of your card and fill out a document and send it to them and have them deal with it, because that's the unknown there. You could just throw darts and at all the unknowns, and then all of those darts you throw, they may fail. Maybe 10 out of 15 may fail, maybe 14 out of 15, but that 15th one may find you success and you move forward. So most people don't make decisions. Like you said, sometimes you don't want to make decisions. Sometimes you let things happen to you. Am I correct? I think you
Yeah.
can it to me. You
I
let it happen to you. Why?
I don't know why.
I know, but
I
those are
would
the
just
right words. Those are the right
I would
words.
just rather, it's like, just an example. Say we're going out to eat. It's a battle till the enjoyment is gone from wanting to go out to eat, because neither one of us knows where we want to go, or because it doesn't matter to me. So,
You
you
answered
know,
your question already, and I explained it to you. So let's go backwards for 10 seconds. Here, the conceptual framework of the decision-making process, spontaneous right action. Keep making smaller decisions. So instead of deciding the restaurants you want to, first decide, what do you have a taste for? Then decide, are my feet comfortable? What shoes will I wear? Then decide, are we getting formal dressed up? Are we getting casual dressed up? Are we in blue jeans and shorts? Then decide who's going with us. Then decide, make those smaller decisions like you've never done in your own life. That's what things happen to you. You ended up in places because you didn't have the experience of making decisions. No one ever sat you on their knee and said, love, this is the way you make these kinds of decisions to keep you out of trouble. So you don't have any experience with it. You don't have any experience with making decisions. You argue, you get defensive over going out. Why? Because you don't know how to go out without getting permission. You don't know how to make that decision without someone else being there with you and coattailing it with you or supporting you or making it for you. And we're going to work
yeah,
too. We're going to work. The decision-making process is so important towards finding peace with abuse, finding your way through it. You must start to make decisions, but definitive, clear decisions that you don't violate. Not that kind of Alcoholics Anonymous thing where you stand in a circle and tell each other how terrible you are. Not that, not downing them really, but I don't think that's as effective as what I'm asking you to do.
yeah,
You find those things, good, bad, or ugly, and make decisions on them. Bad or good decisions doesn't matter. That what matters is you made a decision and you moved on that. And it went wrong, but it's because you made it. And then you get to fix it. So you get to make another decision to make it right. And the more you do that, you'll get it right more often than you get it wrong. And the people around you, especially your grandkids and even your adult kids, they'll see that mom's in a decision-making framework right now that's from heaven, and it's benefiting us all, and they will adopt the same things. You see, once you change, Bobbi, I can't change you. Therapy of any kind cannot change you. They can maintain you through whatever, but nothing's going to change you. The only thing that can change you is you. But if you don't have the tools and the skill set and the experience to make those changes, then you'll never change. And it's not like trying to be someone else. A lot of
Yeah,
people,
it's like stuck in a cycle.
of
It's
course,
stuck in a whole cycle.
hamster wheel,
Yep.
hamster over and over. And guess what? You'll never leave that hamster wheel. You'll never leave that cycle. The centripetal and centrifugal force of that will not let you out of that gravity pull. You're not getting out unless you stop the wheel, reevaluate, and then put some stops on your wheel where you can stop and get off and do the things you need to do as it goes around, because that's life. Only way, and this is why we're in the fifth and sixth session now. The next session will be dedicated totally to what? To prison. I want to hear about all of your prison's experience inside and out. I want to talk about those in depth, and I want our audience to understand what you've gone through. I wanted to get through a lot of this first, but decisions. Once you start making decisions, micro decisions, don't try to make big decisions. Like, I think I'll have a big piece of pie. That's a huge decision. Just say, I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to take a little bit of this pie and I'm going to take a modicum of pie, stick it in my mouth. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to enjoy that flavor going down. And oh, do you like milk?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm take a glass of milk and I'm gonna swish it on down. I don't drink milk, but I figured you did. But I'm gonna swish it down. You make these decisions. I think I'll use a blue glass instead of the clear glass. Start making decisions and make people around you make decisions too. Because what are you doing? You're changing and metamorphosizing, not physically, but your countenance, your persona is changing, and people are witnessing that. They're like, wow. Bobbi doesn't take any crap anymore. Bobbi don't listen to my crap. Bobbi will tell me, no, I'm not interested now. Bobbi will tell me this and that and the other. She didn't used to do that. And if they want to be in your life, they'll change. They will change to adjust to the new you. But they've been conditioned by whom? By you, to treat you the way they treat you. You taught them how to treat you, the people in the world who hurt you, the people in the world who have put you in places where you ended up in prison, or raped, or whatever the circumstance you were involved. You taught them that it's okay to do that to you. Now you have to unteach or reteach people how to treat you. And trust me, once you change, they have no other choice but to change, but you're never going to change. And I mean, don't even try. Forget about, oh, I'm so sorry, Lord, help me, God. Forget all that. You put in your work, God will do the rest. But I'm saying nothing will ever change until you start making decisions. The next time your husband, I think he's a cool guy, the next time he says, let's go out to eat, make a small decision. The first decision, you make it and say, I think I want I think I'm in the mood for chicken. And then let him say, chicken could be good for us. I think chicken can work. Maybe go to a rotisserie place. Yeah, rotisserie good, or maybe fried chicken. Talk about small things. Let those get you there, because you'll start seeing that he's receiving you well. You're receiving him well. Your decision-making process takes hold. You can see where you're going from the first mention of chicken. You know that in about 18 minutes, because I figured 10 minutes to get ready, tell everybody, let's go, everybody get packed in a car, you get your purse and you put a little makeup, 18 minutes. Let's say 18 minutes later, you're sitting in a car, but you've mapped out in your head every small micro decision to get there. And it's tedious in the beginning because you've never done it. So don't feel frustrated with it because you've never done it. It's going to hurt you. It's going to make you feel bad. It's going to make you feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. That's when you know you're doing something, when it's different and painful. When you're doing something for you and it's difficult, you're doing something good because it's for you, and it will inure to the benefit of everyone around you once you change. If you keep being indecisive, I guarantee you your grandkids will be indecisive.
No, I don't want that.
Exactly.
I don't want.
And see, you don't do it for your grandkids, though. Remember, we talked about this, like quitting smoking. You never do it for your grandkids. You do it for you. And that beauty of watching them enjoy you change will foster that behavior in them of the same changes through that you're going through. They will get it. You don't have to do it for them. You have to, the only way you do it for them is because you do it for yourself first. You do it for yourself and it'll stick. You do it for anybody else, it will fail. Do it for yourself. That's why none of these New Year's resolutions work for people. Oh, I think I'm gonna lose 30 pounds. Oh, I think I'm gonna do so. I'm thinking I'm gonna because my husband wants this, my wife wants that, and da 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 da. My kids need this, my kid, and then it never works because they're never doing it for themselves. They're always doing it for something or someone else. And that's you your whole life.
Yep.
How's
Well, I know
that worked out for you? How's that
that
work?
it hasn't. That it hasn't. This Planet Fitness, I was just thinking, it ain't too late. It ain't closed yet. And I must say, I'm going to Planet Fitness. Does anybody want to go with me? I'll offer.
Attitude is everything. Attitude, listen, Bob, attitude is everything. If you, I heard this in that movie some years ago, and I just adopted it. He said, free your mind, your ass will follow.
Yeah.
Free your mind to do something, your whole rest of you will come with you.
Yeah.
But you got to free your mind first, be objective with yourself. And if Planet Fitness is your thing and you get there and you go, oh my God, I've been smoking too. I used to smoke and work out at the same time, back when I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
That's how I played softball too.
Years ago. Okay. So we won't be doing that, right? Let's try. Okay. But
I do have a goal. I do want to reduce. I do. But I got to do small things at just small steps.
And that's the only way you'll ever get anything done in life. I mean, anyone who jumps out there, of course, they jump out taking a chance, or they're looking for luck. And some people make it and most don't. But if you get good at making those small decisions in between the big decisions, that way, once you make the big decision, you've done all the work to.
You mean just like being aware of the decision that I make?
Exactly. Not only
like
aware of it,
intentional, like thinking about it.
Accountable.
Yeah.
You want to be accountable. There's a technique I'm going to teach you in the audience right now, if you'd like to know. Back in Special Forces, when I was in the military, we used to use this thing called the backwards planning method. It was taught, and I use it the rest of my life. I always think of exactly where I want to be. Exactly where I want to be. I think of that. Then I work backwards from there. And I go to the step here, then that step here, and that step here until I get here. For instance, I need to get my driver's license renewed. I'm at the driver's place and they're handing me my card in my hand. I'm driving up there and someone drove me because my license was expired. And before that, I was in my home waiting for the person to come pick me up to drive my car over there. So once I have my license renewed, I can drive my car back. And prior to that, I got my notice from the, of course, driver's bureau. And then I see myself sitting on the edge of bed when I first open my mail. So I plan everything I do from where I want to be all the way back to where I am. And you never miss a step when you do that. You never miss anything because you can see the end. You can see every step of the way backwards to where you are. So the backwards plan, we used to do that for missions. Whenever we planned a mission, whether it was an ambush or raid or whatever it was, or whatever the situation was, we would plan from that objective back to where we are. And you maintain control. You make a lot of little small decisions, and everybody knows their role, and they know where you're supposed to be. We cross-trained each other. We made sure everybody was in the know of everything, and you have to do that with yourself.
Yeah.
You're your own team within you. Remember, you have your id, your ego, and your super ego. That little girl inside of you, you got that demon inside of you, and you got that angel inside of you. That's what you got. Everybody in the world's got that. So make those decisions. This whole day or this period today with you is about one thing. It's about your decision-making process. If you ever find yourself saying F it, and you have to learn those words too, but you have to learn how to use them at the right time. You just can't say F it because you don't want to do it. You have to say F it when it's futile. When something is futile, let it go. Just let it go. But as you move along making your decisions, and you understand how not only are you impacted, Bobbi, how you impact others. If I told you something negative about you right now, and I don't want to do that, because I can say some really nasty things, because I'm a nasty guy sometimes when I talk to people back. You see how your attitude just changed? I mean, your face went like, what? Because I said something that you didn't agree with. Now, I wouldn't do that to you, but I'm telling you, I'm a nasty guy and I could do this and the other. And if you react to circumstances, then people got you. If somebody really want to egg you on, they want to be a narcissist or a sociopath, or they want to take advantage of you and manipulate you, all they want to do first is piss you off. If they can upset you, the moment they feel they can upset you is when they got you. So don't let me or anyone else antagonize you. So in your decision-making process, you will be doing a lot of things that people won't understand around you. They won't understand it. They'll be like, what the hell are you doing? What's going on? Why?
Like backwards planning. Like that's a
You have to think backwards from there, but you also have
yeah.
to, what that impact, not only that you're making for yourself to make you stronger, better, and decided and a better human for yourself. Not only that, but you have to deal with how you impact others around you with your micro decisions.
Yeah.
Not that you have to be sorry for it. You never have to be sorry for a decision unless you hurt someone. And of course, it has to be unintentional. But if you unintentionally hurt someone, say your sorries and keep going. But stick with what you're doing. Stay in your process. And it becomes habit. Once you form these habits, you become conditioned. And once you're conditioned, then you become what we call trained. And once you're trained, no one can move you off of you anymore. It's a process, not overnight.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say I didn't get this way overnight, huh?
No.
You know when they say you do something 10 times and it can become a habit? I feel like this is going to take longer than 10 times.
You know why? You know why it's going to take longer than 10 times, Bobby? The truth be told, because that's they. They say a lot, which means nothing. What really means something is what you surmise, what you get out of something, and you say, have to do this 43 times. And then you do it 43 times. And if it doesn't stick, say, Michael, can we work on this? And I'll go, of course we can. Or if you get to 10 and you think you got it, and I feel that you don't, I'll say, Bobby, you don't have it yet.
Yeah. And don't let me go either, because I got me a planner for the 2024 today.
Well, there you go. Got
So,
it. So you see it in writing. You know, it's much more difficult for you to forget something if you see it in writing.
yeah. And it's got like plans, tasks, focus.
Uh-oh. There you
Yeah.
go. And Kelly, our director, global director of the nonprofit Abuse Refuge, matter of fact, for the abuserefuge.org. She is a planner and a list maker and a scheduler from, I wouldn't say the other word, but I'm saying heaven. It's this woman got everything down in the, and I believe that Kim and Nicole are the same way. They just, everything got me, I'm like, what we got? I'm the guy. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy sometimes. But I'll say this to you. Once I see it in writing, we're good. And normally people who are serious about themselves, they make notes. They take notes. They journal. You should start journaling too, I think. I think it'll be very helpful. We'll get to that in another session. I'll teach you how to journal. But take notes and try to eliminate every possibility of missing anything. Even the smallest thing, because it's always that walking down the street, that pebble that you trip over, and you look back at it, oh man.
Smallest thing.
Exactly. That trips you up. That's metaphor and reality. It's both. So let's try to let's sweep off as many pebbles as we can from your path. You've been tripping over paths since you could talk. You were on a collision course of where you've been.
I can remember this just came to me. I can remember my mom and dad before they split, being a little girl looking out the window looking for my grandma. They'd tell me to go to the window and wait for my grandma because she was coming to get me. And I love my grandma. So I would look, but really they were just having me look out the window to let them know if somebody was coming for their wrongdoings.
Got it. You would look out even then.
Yeah. And I would just
that works.
stay there for hours and just wait on my grandma, but she was never coming.
Did you
Like,
just say you just realized that? You just remembered that? Did you just?
yeah. So I don't know what made me say that, but I just was just thinking about that.
Oh, that's
Like,
perfect. That's what the whole idea is. You have to find out the truths. Remember,
yeah,
clarity. We're going to get some clarity here. We're going to assess it, and then we're going to get rid of all of the gunk, and we're going to find truth. Like that one statement says a lot to your pre-teen era that you were supposedly the all-American girl. You were still being used in a certain way even before then. So
yeah,
it was easy for you to transition into what your father wanted you to do after you became of age, or at least post puberty.
yeah,
So that is something that is very enlightening, and we're going to have to explore that because now you can remember, even as a little girl, 4 or 5 years old, you were in the window going, nobody's coming yet. Grandma's not here. Oh, look, Uncle Bill is here. That was your job. You see how
yeah,
raking works? Raking the opportunity on your life around what you do, it stimulates memories from every aspect, every time period, and every kind of music or smell away. It will help you to reconfigure the truth in your brain housing group. And we'll talk more about that in our upcoming sessions. But I like to give the last minutes to you to tell me something. Tell me a story about you you've never told anyone. A quick story. Tell me a quick story you've never told anyone.
quick story I've never told anyone. Uh,
Only when people repeat what you say like that, they're about to lie. We're not going to lie, are we?
no.
Okay.
I always had a lot of toys as I would have all the new toys that came out. My grandparents would soothe me with toys, and I never liked them. I would hide them in the trailer, and I'd say, "Oh, I was going to go out here and play with the toys," but I would never play with the toys because I knew what they were doing. And at the same time, my when I would tell my friends about my toys, I could never bring them to my house. So they always thought I was lying to them, but I wasn't. I just couldn't bring them to the house because my dad was
But
in
what were your
his
grandparents doing? You said you knew what they were doing. Tell our
yeah,
audience.
they
What were
were
they
comforting me. They were buying me things to comfort me.
pacifying you?
Yeah.
That pacification caused you a lot of it's like when you see a spoiled child, even though I'm not saying you're spoiled, but when you see a spoiled child, they have no sense of group. They have no sense of community around themselves. They have no sense of power with any other or exchange of power. They have no sense. So they grow up with a big hole in themselves that they have to fill with other stuff because they don't know what belongs there. And that's been you.
Yeah.
They're
I was the only
placated.
child until I was 16.
There you go. See, that's a long 1 year being the only child. My parents had 6 kids, and we came out like I'm 11 months different from my other brother's age. I mean, they just kept it going until they finished with 6 kids. So, but because we kept each other company, we worked together. We watched one make a mistake, and we other ones didn't make it. On and on and on. We had so many points of reference to being well together, even though we went through some pretty hard times. We had each other. You didn't have that. You did not have that. And that's a big part of failure. Failure isn't because, oh, it's my fault, blame me and all that. Yeah, everybody fails. Everybody in life fails. I've failed. I can say I failed in life, but I've never quit anything. But I failed. Absolutely, we all fail. You fail miserably and have succumbed to some of the worst experiences as a result of your failures, only because you weren't prepared for those decisions that you made. And you didn't have the mental faculty or acuity or acumen to make those kinds of decisions.
And I thought I was smart.
And you are. That's nothing to do with smart.
No,
I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
back then I thought I knew it all.
yeah. But now, as you look back and then you look forward, look at your grandkids, look at your children.
Yeah.
As you look back and forward, that's what you've not been able to do. You existed over here on your low spectrum of the past. When you live this way, all you do is judge yourself by the rules of your past. And you don't bring yourself centered here so you can find balance. You just keep existing right here. Like when you said it was fraud, I knew what it was. I got to fix it and da da da. But you didn't really fix it. You just went around it and you put some band-aids on it. So, we're going to talk about more about that in your
Right, because if I went to order something right now, it would still say fraud.
Exactly. So we need to explore why. Turn the card over on the backside, get that number and get on there and ask them why and help them, tell them to find the documentation you need to do or whatever you need to fill out or whatever you need to say or confirm, get it done. And you'll find it. That's a much easier route than sitting there trying to work with the machine or work with Walmart. So yeah, of course. I'm just saying, not that you don't know that, but and when you're making your decisions, sometimes you don't see them clearly.
Because what happens if I come up fraud somewhere else?
Exactly. That's why you should just stop what you're doing, take a few minutes before you go to Planet Fitness and kind of fix that problem. At least get it on a path to being repaired. That way you don't have to worry about it ever again, instead of it keep coming back up and you're sitting there going, oh, I need to make a decision about this. Make the decision to do that and get it done. Now, that's the one thing I want to tell you. The next thing I want to remind you of, and I'm going to try to do this as often as I can, is that remember, every relationship you ever get into is an exchange of power. So don't give too much of your power away, and don't try to take someone else's too much of their power from them. I'm giving you the power to make me sit here and have this conversation. You have that power. And you're giving me the power to ask you these questions and help you along. It's an exchange of power, and it's never 50-50. It'll be 60-40, 51-49, it'll be 70-30, but it'll never be 50-50. Someone will always be leading somewhere and towing that line. And you have to figure where you are in every exchange of power in your life. And everyone, from your grandkids to your postman, to the cashier, to your teacher, to me, everyone, your husband, everyone is an exchange of power, everyone. And if you measure yourself with people in your exchanges of power, you'll find that you have a lot more power than you think you have. And not trying to control people kind of power, but
so is it ideal to have, is it ideal to have 50-50? Is that like the target, or?
It frustrates you and it makes liars out of you. You become pathological when you try to make it 50-50 because it's not real. It's impossible to be 50-50. What's only possible is someone will always be leading. And even if you lead, if you walk together arm in arm on an issue, somebody's got to make that decision to continue.
Right.
Even if you're both locked into the same decision and you're both wholeheartedly for it, that's fine. And that's what we want as an optimum effect of any kind of thing we do in our relationship. But it's still 100%, 100%. It's never, you don't split up the power evenly because nothing can get done.
Makes sense.
So always somebody, and you have to respect that small measure of power. So I'm going to close this out tonight, and I have to say something. I want everybody to know, if you've enjoyed our sessions with Bobbi tonight, and thank you, Bobbi. And if you want to see more, know our next session is coming up on the 21st. I think it's the 21st. I want to make sure I get it in my notes. No, today's the 21st. It'll be the 26th of December, and at 6 p.m., same time, Eastern Standard Time. If you've enjoyed this, I'm happy, and I want you to all understand that Bobbi is an amazing human being, and I thank her very much. Remember, go to our website, normtherapy.com, and also goarrow.org. Go there and you can find out more about what we do, and you can sign up to subscribe and find out more about our company, our organization. We're going to a pay model in the future. We have trained norm therapists all over the world. We have our own online school. We're actually starting sessions in this upcoming January, where people are signing up to become norm therapists, and we're going to continue to grow our organization. We're also in a mode of developing other business products and services, so look forward to that. And we'll talk to you in a few days. I'll see you on the 26th of December. And thank you all for joining us today. Bobbi, it's good seeing you. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Enjoy Planet Fitness and making those decisions. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you all.
Good night.
Bye.